Welcome to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Scott Seidenberg here with you from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas. This is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line right here on VSiN, the sports betting network. You guys can hit me up on Twitter at Scott's On Air. Hit us all up on the network at VSiN Live. It is an Easter Sunday. That's why I'm wearing my beautiful pastel-colored shirt to get into the Easter spirit, as we are going to be searching for our little Easter eggs to find some gems in the sports betting markets for today's playoff action. Gave out a best bet in Major League Baseball, which we will recap coming up a little bit later on this hour, and we do have best bets in both the NBA and the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Taking a look at what's on your schedule for today, the action gets started in the NBA playoffs as we have more game ones on tap, and it starts bright and early. About an hour from now will be tip-off between the Thunder and the Grizzlies from Oklahoma City. I say bright and early because, yes, this is a 1 o'clock Eastern time tip-off between the Thunder and the Grizzlies, but it's not going to be 1 o'clock in Oklahoma City. It's Oklahoma City Central Time. This is a noon tip-off in OKC. Noon. These players don't like to play at noon. It feels like an under spot to me. In fact, the data shows me that this is an under spot. I looked up the history in my database, and if you just isolate playoff games in the last, since the 2021 season. So I took out COVID, and we just did since the start of the 2021 season. Playoff games that start at 1 o'clock Eastern time or earlier, which is extremely rare, but I mean, we're talking Eastern time here, so it's not like the noon, the tip-off that we're talking about in Oklahoma City. But just the early start times, 1 o'clock Eastern time or earlier, the unders, you ready for this? 12-2. I'm going to repeat that. The unders in the early start times, 1 o'clock Eastern time, in the NBA playoffs, they are 12-2 to the under. 12-2. And they are going under by double-digit points per game. We have a total right now in this game between the Thunder and the Grizzlies at 230.5. I don't get why the number has been bet up from 229 or 229.5. To me, this screams under. This opened at 226. It has been bet up. Oh, is this correct? I mean, there's no way this is correct, because if it is correct, then I got to go downstairs and place a bet right now. I'm seeing circa at 232. I'm seeing circa at 232 and OKC minus 13. This is a bet. This is a massive best bet. We're good. We got to go under. I got to take this under 232. I've already bet the under 230.5, but now I got a rogue line here at circa. Someone behind me downstairs has been placing money on the over, and I don't get it. The numbers tell me that these early start times in the NBA playoffs go under. If you want to just isolate one side of this game to go under, I would do the Memphis Grizzlies to go under their team total. And that might be the side that you're most comfortable being on, because you think, hey, the Thunder are such a good team. They're so dynamic on offense. They could score upwards of 125 or so. I don't want to bet a game under, because they could easily push this game to go over the 231.5, 232 by them scoring like 125 or 130 points. So go under 107.5 and for the Memphis. And guess what? That number has actually been bet down, because it was at 108.5. And then it was 108, and now it's 107.5. So that to me is very interesting. And that's only one book. I'm only looking at DraftKings right now. Obviously, if Circa has this game lined at 232, they're going to be different on the team total. So maybe if you have Circa, go take a look at the Memphis Grizzlies team total to go under at Circa, because you might get the 108.5 there with a total of 232. You know, as I said that right now, and if you are the person that's listening and watching this show that just fired in on the under, I salute you. You're welcome. Circa just went down to 231. I knew that number was dumb. And that's what the Sharps are doing here. We are at an hour before tip-off. They're looking at the markets, they're seeing where the rogue numbers are, and they're trying to pick them off. If I'm looking at Circa's history here, they were at, let's see, open 226, brief moment went down to 224, before going up 225, 226, 227.5, 228, they went up 230. Then from 230, they went down to 229.5, even 228.5 yesterday. This morning went up to 230. So they must have taken some action this morning. Then at 239, back up to 230.5. And literally 10 minutes ago, maybe, Circa shot up to 232. And 4 or 5 minutes ago, back down to 231. So interesting to follow the action here at the sports books to see where the money is coming in and who is moving these lines. But the play in this game is the under. And the history does show us that in these early NBA playoff start times, the games significantly go under. Take the under in the Thunder and Grizzlies. Game 1, 1 o'clock Eastern time tip-off, about an hour or so from now. A little less, but depending on the commercials, it could be like a 105 start or a 110 start or however they decide to do this. Also coming up later today, we have the Magic and the Celtics from Boston, where the Celtics have just been chomping at the bit, getting ready to start their postseason. There's been a lot of knocks on Boston throughout the season this year. And I think it's because at times they looked like they were, maybe sleepwalking's a bad way to say it, but at times they looked like they were just cruising through the NBA regular season. The defending NBA champions know more than anybody what it takes to win the title, the grind that it takes to win an NBA title. And so they didn't want to push their bodies and go through the physical toll of an 82-game regular season when they know that when it comes to the playoffs, as long as they got home court advantage, doesn't matter if they were a 1 seed or a 2 seed, because they're not losing 4 out of 7 games. And yes, if it comes down to an Eastern Conference Finals where they have to play the Cleveland Cavaliers, they will not have home court advantage, but I still don't see them losing 4 out of 7 games. The Celtics have been the overwhelming favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference despite the historic season that the Cleveland Cavs have had, and there's no reason to bet against the Boston Celtics because that's how good they are. Am I concerned about Jaylen Brown's knee a little bit? Sure. But unlike last postseason, they got a healthy Kristaps Porzingis now. I think this team is ready to make a run right now and represent the Eastern Conference in the finals once again. And looking at this matchup against the Orlando Magic, they're going to be able to defend Paolo, and they're going to be able to limit the other scoring options for this team. I don't see the Magic scoring a ton of points here in this game and even in this series. And one of the bets, we talked about this with our very own Will Hill, who joined us earlier on the program. He is on the Magic team total to go under. I love that angle because something that I've been tracking this season, and I've been playing it a lot this year, is after the Celtics lose a game. Now, I know they're not coming off of a loss here. But let me just make the point here. One of the most profitable things that I did this season in the NBA was after the Celtics lost a game, I bet the opponent's team total to go under. This year, it was 17-4. You were 17-4 betting the Celtics' opponent's team total to go under in games after the Celtics lost a game. And the theory was, and what we saw in the results, is that when the Celtics want to, they can play the best defense in the NBA. They could stifle you when they want to. And after losses this year, they wanted to play defense. Well, now we're in the NBA playoffs. Now it's game one. Now we're sending a message that will dictate the entirety of this title defense. Look for an impressive defensive effort from the Celtics here in game one. And we'll go with the Magic team total to go under. Find the best number out there, 95.5, 96 would be even better. Earlier in the week, it was 94.5, so it's been bet up a little bit. But take that team total to go under. We have 2 more game ones coming up today. We'll get to those. Plus, we'll be joined by our very own NBA guru, Jonathan Von Tobel, coming up in just a bit here on the program. And VSiN fans, let me tell you guys that now is the time to plan your Vegas getaway because Circa Las Vegas owner Derek Stevens, he's offering you 15% off at 3 incredible properties: Circa Las Vegas, the D Hotel, and Golden Gate. So whether you're lounging by Stadium Swim, which is the best place to be watching the games, quite frankly, or you're just enjoying all the excitement Vegas has to offer, you're going to save big with promo code VSiN15. Book your stay now, circalasvegas.com, and use code VSiN15 and get 15% off. Your Vegas adventure starts here. More NBA playoff conversation and NHL Stanley Cup playoffs coming up next right here on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Seidenberg back here with you on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Always on Twitter at Scott's On Air. We are going to continue the NBA playoff discussion, get into a little more about the Stanley Cup playoff games that are underway today, and we'll recap coming up our best bets as well for both Major League Baseball and all of the playoff action. Jonathan Von Tobel, our very own here at VSiN, you know he's locked into the NBA playoffs. He will join us in about 15 minutes, get his picks for today and also his assessment of the series prices based on what we saw yesterday and what we expect to happen here today. Talked about the first 2 games with the Grizzlies at the Thunder and the Magic at the Celtics. Let's continue and talk about the Heat at the Cavaliers. Cleveland, like the first 2 games, a heavy favorite, minus 12.5 with a total of 215. Miami, very impressive during their play-in run, winning 2 games on the road, both in extremely impressive fashion at Chicago and then at Atlanta. Do they have what it takes now to play another road game in Cleveland and make this one competitive against the Cavs? I would think not. I would think that those 2 games this week has taken a toll on the Miami Heat. And it would make sense that this is the game where it kind of all comes to a crashing halt. If you look back, the Miami Heat were the underdog in Chicago. Yes, there was kind of 2-way action on that game, but they closed as a 1.5-point dog. And then going to Atlanta, they opened up as the dog. They wound up closing as the favorite. So the public certainly has a high opinion on the Miami Heat. And in that second game, flipping them from the dog to the favorite, it made sense because the recency bias. What did we just see from Miami? They looked great against Chicago. They also did something very, very fluky in that game. I tweeted it out when that happened. You know, they scored more points in the first quarter than they did the entire second half. 39 points in the first quarter. They only scored 39 in the second half as that game went under the posted total. Now, Miami can play good defense, but do they have the size to contend with the Cleveland Cavaliers? And I don't think they do. I mean, I watched Bam Adebayo completely just have a no-show on defense in the final possession of regulation against the Hawks, allowing Trae Young to get a game-tying layup? How do you let him? I understand Trae Young's quick and he's got that first step and he can drive by anybody, but how about a foul? I don't know. I know you don't want to run the risk of an end one, but I come from an era of basketball where if you're going to drive to the basket, you're going to pay a price for it. And I'm not going to let you get the shot up. You're going to get mauled if you blow by me to go for a layup. And if I was Bam Adebayo in that spot, I'm making Trae Young tie the game from the free throw line. I'm not letting him get that layup. But anyway, the Heat do win in overtime, so it didn't even matter. But against Donovan Mitchell and this Cavs team, against the size that they can certainly provide with Mobley and Jared Allen for sure down low, LeVert, who's had some he's had his issues this season. But anyway, to me, I don't see the Heat keeping this one close. Now, maybe throughout the series, we can see it be a little bit different. But in game one, Donovan Mitchell's at 25.5, Darius Garland 18.5 points, Mobley 16.5. To me, the play in this game might be, and I was on it in both the play-in games, is Tyler Hero over 2.5 3-pointers made. And Tyler Hero's prop right now, over 2.5 threes, is minus 110. The reason why that might be the play for me is because I don't see the Heat being able to get inside on this Cavaliers team. Mobley's rebound prop is 10.5. Jarrett Allen's rebound prop is 10.5. And Bam Adebayo is at 9.5. I'd kind of go under on Bam Adebayo, if we're being honest. But with Mobley and Allen down low, I don't think points in the paint are going to be easy to come by. To me, Miami's going to have to score from the outside. So over 2.5 threes going back to the well with Tyler Hero, like I did both times in the play-in round, might be the way to go here. But if I had to pick a team on the spread, it would be the Cleveland Cavaliers to dominate here against the Miami Heat. And then tonight, this game is fascinating. The Warriors at the Rockets. Based on regular season numbers, based on maybe a prototypical power rating, if you will, of these teams, I don't think this line makes sense. I just don't. The Houston Rockets have had an incredible season, and they are the 2 seed in the Western Conference that is much better than the East this year. And if you just look at, let's go NBA teams. Let's see, net rating, Houston Rockets are 7th, Warriors are 10th. Defensive rating, which I love, Rockets are 5th, Warriors are 7th. Offensive rating, let's see, Rockets are 12th, and the Warriors are 16th. So in every advanced stat here, as far as net rating is concerned, the Rockets are the better team. The Rockets are home. The Rockets have home court advantage throughout this series. And something that I actually love is when it comes to playoff games where possessions are limited. I always lean towards the better rebounding team. Because in a game where possessions are limited, if you could give your team an extra offensive possession by getting an offensive rebound, and if you can limit the opponent's chances to get an extra offensive possession by grabbing a defensive rebound, to me, that is how you win these playoff games. And the Houston Rockets are the number 1 rebounding team in the NBA. So the series price to me doesn't make sense to have the Warriors as this significant of a favorite in the series at minus 180, to have the Warriors be a 1-point favorite, or now it's changed now, but the Rockets is a 1-point favorite at home, meaning that the market views the Warriors as better because factoring in home court and whatnot, I mean, you would think the Rockets would be a little bigger favorite than this. I just don't see it. I don't see it. There's going to be creative ways to play the Rockets here in this series. Maybe it starts with a game one play here at -1. To me, this number is inflated because it is the Golden State Warriors and it is Steph Curry and it's playoff Jimmy. That's the reason why this line is what it is. It's because of the public being all over the Golden State Warriors. I think there's value on the Rockets. And maybe, not just game one, but I think in the series. Taking a look at the series price, let's dive into this for a second. I mentioned the money line price. Forget about the money line price here. Forget about the plus 150 or so. Series spread bets. Rockets plus 1.5 games. If you think that the Rockets win this series, or maybe it goes at least 7, it's -120 for Rockets plus 1.5 games. I like that bet. I think this is a long series. The total games going over 5.5, that would be a way that I would also lean, but that's juiced. It's -200. But Rockets plus 1.5 games at -120, rather than going for the plus 150, if the series goes to 7, you're already locked in. You got yourself a guaranteed winner. And what's the line going to be in game 7 at home? Probably what it is here in game 1, which is the Rockets on -120 on the money line anyway. So different ways to win essentially the same bet. But we'll get more into the NBA playoffs coming up next with our very own Jonathan Von Tobel. We'll get his picks for this game, for the other games, and the series prices as well. Want to remind you guys, the NFL draft is coming up on Thursday. And the draft is one of the few betting events where the research beats the reputation. And the pros here at VSiN can help you cash in. So right now you can get VSiN Pro access through August 1st for just $59. You'll get a full summer of sharp betting insights at half the regular price. And with your VSiN Pro subscription, you're going to get the daily best bets, including the sharp insight into the NFL draft props, real-time betting splits from Circa and DraftKings 24/7 video access on the VSiN Watch app, and full access to VSiN.com's analytics, betting trends, and expert breakdowns from the draft to the Derby and beyond. Every sport, every edge, one low price. Sign up now at VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. I'm Scott Seidenberg right here on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Scott Seidenberg back here with you. The VSiN Weekend Morning Line coming to you from the Circa Sportsbook here in downtown Las Vegas as we gear up for both the NBA and NHL Stanley Cup playoff action of the day, Major League Baseball, where we do have some best bets in all three, giving you here on the program multiple opportunities to cash those tickets. Joining us now on the Progressive guest line as we talk more NBA playoffs is our very own Jonathan Von Tobel. JVT, I gave you a little nugget here during the break about early start time unders in the NBA playoffs, and we have not just a 1 o'clock Eastern time start here in OKC between the Grizzlies and the Thunder, but this is a noon local time start there in Oklahoma City. Total has actually been fluctuating. I've been watching the board here, and we stand right now at 231 at Circa. Would you lean towards the under here, or how else would you play this total?
Yeah, I think under makes some sense. Look, I don't really buy too much into Memphis from an offensive standpoint, especially in some of these half-court settings. They can kind of get bogged down a little bit if they're not able to get out and run. And Memphis is going to face a bevy of on-ball defenders. Whoever's going to get Ja Morant, it doesn't really matter. They're going to be able to handle him, whether it's Shea, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, or everybody in between, Caruso. They've got so many backcourt defenders to use against Morant that I think everything's going to be fine with them. And even with the overwhelming size here that you have on the other end, I think that Oklahoma City has shown that they have the dueling size to do it. So whether you wanted to go under or whether you wanted to go team total under for Memphis, I think that those two things make sense. I think I'd gravitate more toward the team total under and just not worry with the fact that Memphis defensively doesn't have many answers for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and they get burned in that regard. But I think Memphis is due for a long night.
Yep, that's fair. I think the best angle I like is the under for the Memphis team total, and that varies by book. You can get 107.5, 108. Obviously, shop around, get that best number. But for the under for the game I'm on, and also on a stronger side, under on the Memphis Grizzlies team total. Speaking of team totals to go under, I like the Magic team total to go under. We've seen at times this year when the Boston Celtics choose to play defense. And what I mean by that is, sometimes in some games they don't really put forth the best defensive effort, but we've seen, especially after losses this year, playing the opponent's team total to go under has been extremely profitable for the Boston Celtics. Here in game one of a postseason series, I expect them to have some sort of defensive intensity. Would you co-sign a Magic team total under, and what other plays do you like in this game?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, I think that when you look at Orlando and just what they're up against here, they don't have anybody in the backcourt to score for them, right? We know that Jalen Suggs is not going to be available. They are really dying for any sort of offensive output outside of maybe Cole Anthony that potentially could get you there. And Cole Anthony's going to have to face either Drew Holiday or Derek White. It's just not really a matchup that I think is well suited for them. And your two best players, Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, they're facing a team that actually has options for them, right? Atlanta didn't have any options for either of those two. And Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero absolutely destroyed Atlanta in both regular season and had some success in that play-in matchup. That's not the case here. So I would tend to agree with that. I also do think, though, that Orlando is the better defensive team. Every metric points to that. Whether this game stays under the total or what I did was I took a 14 here with the Orlando Magic. I think they can stay inside of a pretty big number. I think we're down. What are we down to now? I'm blind. I can't see. 12.5, 13. Yeah. I still think that if you grab 13, it's perfectly fine. I think that this number was too high, and especially with the game total as low as it is, asking a very good defensive team to stay inside of a bloated number like that, I think can happen.
Yeah, 12.5 minus 115 for Boston, minus 12.5 minus 115 here at Circa, and total down to 205 here at Circa. And you're right, with such a low total to get that many points feels like a good angle. Where are you looking for this in this Cleveland Cavaliers game? You want to talk about another heavy spread. Right now, the Cavs are 13. Actually, they're down to 12.5 as well over the Miami Heat, total of 215.5.
So I thought the angle here potentially was actually a player prop. Right now, I'm looking at Tyler Hero 23.5 for the player prop for him for total points. I think that's playable here for Hero. One of the things that he is going to face quite a bit of in this matchup is quite a bit of drop coverage, especially when Jarrett Allen's out there on the floor. And Hero is a great mid-range specialist, takes a majority of his shots from mid-range. He is a very efficient shooter from mid-range. And so attacking that defensive style, I think, is really going to work for him throughout the series, let alone in a matchup like this. So I was going to come in pretty strong on Hero. But in general, look, the Cavaliers have everything that you want. I wrote about this up on the website at VSiN.com. It is a team in the Miami Heat that plays zone on 14.6% of their defensive possessions. How do you break a zone? You either have a versatile big in the teeth of the defense or you shoot over the top. Cleveland can do both of those. Top 4 in terms of frequency of beyond the arc, and, of course, top 3 in terms of three-point shooting. They're going to be able to break them out of that zone. They're going to be able to move the ball around. They just have everything you need, and they just have more scoring depth. Tyler Hero accounted for 30% of the points scored for Miami in the 2 play-in games. There's not many other guys on this roster that can score for them. So I think Hero has a big day, and I do think the Cavaliers, you could probably look at laying that number, but I think going over Hero's points is the way to go tonight.
So a way that I played Tyler Hero in both playing games is I went over 2.5 3-pointers, and I talked about this earlier here on the program, is that I like it here in this game because of the size of Cleveland. I don't expect Hero to get points inside. I think the way that the Miami Heat are going to have to attack him is from the outside. So do you like Hero to go, if you like his over points, do you like his over 2.5 3-pointers?
I mean, you potentially could, but I think he does most of his damage trying to get into that soft spot in the middle of the floor, because I think you're probably going to see him involve Jarrett Allen quite a bit in these pick and rolls. And if that's going to be the case, I think that's going to happen. Now, he could still go over that. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities for that to happen. But that was the way that I was at least thinking here. If he's going to do most of his damage, it's going to be from the area of the floor in which he's most comfortable.
So like elbow extended kind of type of thing. And then so 23.5, you would play his over on the points prop.
Yes.
Okay, Tyler Hero over points. Finally, tonight we have the Warriors and the Rockets. We've seen some movement on this game right now, settling in as here at Circa. It is down to a pick'em with a total of 213 between the Rockets and the Warriors. We know the public's going to come in on Golden State, but where do you lean here on this game?
So I bet the Rockets to win the series. I think that they can stay inside of this. And I just, to me, it was a number grab on the series overall. So I think they can be pretty competitive here in this series. Look, they have the size to really get after that Golden State weakness, which is their lack thereof of that size. I mean, we saw Ivica Zubac destroy them on the glass. We saw the Memphis Grizzlies destroy them on the glass. We saw, of course, Zach Edey get 17 rebounds in that game. You're going to be able to attack this team with their lack up front. So I think that that's the way they do this, right? They're going to be able to make this gritty. I'm not surprised that we're starting to see the more market move in that direction. If you get a small plus price on the money line, it's going to be worth it playing on Houston. But in reality, I think you're starting to look at some Alperen Sengun rebounding props over, maybe Steven Adams rebounding props over. They're actually starting to play those two together at times. Sengun's skilled enough to play next to Adams. You don't lose out on much spacing. I think that that is the way to do this, especially some of those ladders. You know, if you laddered Edey, you got there with every single rung of the ladder. And it's the same thing with Zubac in the game on Sunday. So the last Sunday, I should say. So I think that's something really worth attacking here. I think this Warriors team is going to have a ton of trouble with these bigs throughout this series.
I love it. Our very own Jonathan Von Tobel joining us on the Progressive Guest Line. I'm Scott Seidenberg. It's the VSiN Weekend Morning Line. JVT, when you look at what happened yesterday, the Lakers get blown out in a very confusing game watching that play out. You know, the first 15 minutes, LeBron James didn't have a single point, rebound, or assist. Looking at the updated series price and then also looking at game number 2, where are you right now on the Lakers?
I mean, look, I think that this was the DEFCON scenario, which was there was plenty of scenarios you could paint where the Lakers were going to use their lack of size to spread out the floor and make Rudy Gobert a non-factor. That did not happen. And now you look at Minnesota, who can shoot the ball. They can shoot the ball at high volume with high efficiency. The Lakers were a very up and down and mediocre defensive team at times that really did show out here in this series. They don't really have an answer for Naz Reid, who's a versatile big, so he can get inside or he can extend the floor. I think that this, when you saw that play out yesterday, that was everything that Minnesota could have done right in this series, playing out on the floor in a very big way. Dante DiVincenzo, a secondary skilled guy who can actually create some shots. I think that was very bad for the Los Angeles Lakers that had played out in that way, and I wouldn't really want a piece of them here. I thought the series price was a little too high on LA. They deserved to be favored, but the market was not giving the Timberwolves enough credit for the skills that they had. So I would very much be on Timberwolves or pass. Here's the thing, though. We're seeing this, and this is the fun of the NBA postseason, Scott, and there's a good example on Monday where you have the Clippers and the Nuggets. The Clippers are 1.5-point favorites in some spots at the Open.
Zigzag, baby.
Yep, right. But that's an extreme move after they were about a 2.5, 3-point underdog in the first game. So always keep that in mind. But to me, Timberwolves have enough to make this a short series.
Would you still be on the Clippers to win that series against Denver?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, we're starting to see the market. I think we're starting to see some 1.5s disappear, starting to get down to 1. Look, I bet them to win the series. If you go back to that game yesterday, first off, they're a better defensive rebounding team than they showed down the stretch of that contest. We should also note that they, and I would assume they fixed this, very much went away from Ivica Zubac in the high pick and roll late in that game. You would assume that this is going to be a part of it as well. Also would assume that Kawhi, I think this was his first game in altitude since about 2021. So maybe that's going to be something that he gets a little bit better at when they play them again. But I would think that the issues that they had, I thought were somewhat self-inflicted. And then, of course, you go back to, of all the times Russell Westbrook hit a corner 3 to tie a game and set it to overtime, I think the Clippers feel relatively good about their chances in a rematch here.
He is our very own Jonathan Von Tobel. Check out his work at VSiN.com. Help you make the best bets for this NBA postseason. JVT, great stuff, man. Good luck with your bets. Enjoy the games.
Thanks a lot, man. Thank you.
There he is. Jonathan Von Tobel joined us on the Progressive Guest Line. I'm Scott Seidenberg, always on Twitter at Scott's On Air. Coming up next, we'll recap the best bets, get you set for the start of that Grizzlies Thunder game and your Major League Baseball schedule here on an Easter Sunday on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line. This is the Sports Betting Network.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Back here on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line, I'm Scott Seidenberg here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. As we get ready, our final preparations for the start of your NBA playoff action today. Getting underway in about 20 minutes is the Grizzlies and Thunder from OKC. Looking at the market, let's get you the updated prices here as we see final movements on these lines. Right now, the board lighting up here at Circa as the Thunder are a 13.5 point favorite with a total of 231. After that, we have the Magic taking on the Celtics in Boston. Celtics are a minus 12.5, and the total is at 205. Miami at Cleveland. Cleveland, a 12.5 point favorite, total of 215.5. And tonight, the Warriors at the Houston Rockets. This game here at Circa now down to a pick'em with a total of 213. Your latest numbers for your NBA playoff games coming up today. Just recapping our best bets on these games. Because of this trend with the early start times in the NBA playoffs, I am on the under in this Grizzlies game against the Thunder. If you wanted to isolate just one side of this total, I would recommend going under the Memphis Grizzlies team total. That's the better angle for me, is going under the Grizzlies team total. Find the best number you can get out there. 108, 107.5 is what I saw at DraftKings. But if you can get a 108 or even better, a 108.5 or 109, certainly go under the Memphis Grizzlies team total. And just in general, this to me feels like an under game. I lean towards the Thunder laying the points. Again, the trends, early start times, 1 o'clock Eastern or earlier in the NBA playoffs since the start of the 2021 season. 12-2 to the under. Favorites are 11-3 against the spread. And so that would be the Thunder, and it would lean towards the under here in this game. For the Magic and the Celtics, I am on the Magic team total to go under. Again, shop around, find the best number you can on the team total there for the Orlando Magic. Right now, DraftKings, I'm seeing 95.5, and I would go under that 95.5. I think the Celtics are going to lock it down defensively. They have, as JVT mentioned, every answer for Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, and so I do think that we're going to see a good defensive effort from the Celtics as they should dominate this game. For the Heat at the Cavaliers, Cavs minus 12.5. I don't really have a feel for this one. I'm just going to go with JVT on that over points prop for Tyler Hero. I saw 23.5 Tyler Hero's player points prop. I lean towards his over on the 3-pointers made, but I think it's like 6 in one, half a dozen in the other. Like he's going to, if he makes 3-pointers, that's 9 points already. The guy's likely to go over the 23.5, and you can get to the 23.5 without him making 3-pointers. So because of JVT's advice, I'm going to go with the over 23.5 for Tyler Hero's points in the game for the Cavs and the Miami Heat. And then finally tonight, it's going to be an exciting game between the Rockets and the Warriors. And if you can get a plus money price on the Rockets, go with the Rockets in this game. They are the better defensive team, the better rebounding team. They're home, and the market, to me, well, really the public, really overvaluing this Golden State Warriors team because it's Steph Curry, because it's the Warriors. Like, I understand, but if this moves even further in favor of the Golden State Warriors, and we're seeing that because this game is now down to a pick'em, if it gets to plus 1.5, I would take the Houston Rockets in that game tonight. Stanley Cup playoff action will begin a little bit later on. 3 o'clock Eastern time is the first game between the Carolina Hurricanes and the New Jersey Devils. All 3 games today have a total of 5.5. The Carolina Hurricanes are a heavy favorite at minus 225 over the Devils. I actually think the Devils are live in this series. I don't hate sprinkling a plus money grab on the Devils north of plus 200 to win this series against the Hurricanes, but no real feel for this game one. If I had to make a play in game one, I would say go Devils plus a goal and a half. It's minus 148 now on DraftKings. You might be able to find a better price at another book, but go the plus 1.5 goals for the New Jersey Devils because I just think that they're live dogs in this entire per series. So I don't hate that, especially if it's not that expensive. The Battle of Ontario between Toronto and Ottawa. The Maple Leafs are a minus 166 favorite. I do like them in game one. I do like them in this series. And if there was one team that I had to pick to represent the Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup final, it is the Toronto Maple Leafs. This might be the best version of the Maple Leafs that we've seen. Everyone's been waiting for this team to finally get over the hump and take the next step. And with Anthony Stolarz in net, as great as he has played, that to me is the difference in what's going to separate this Maple Leafs team from versions in the past where they had the high expectations and weren't able to live up to them. As far as a player prop is concerned, yes, you can go with the top guys in Nylander or Matthews, but Matthew Nyes is going to be a guy to look at here. And we talked about this with our very own Jonathan Davis, who you read his best bets up on VSiN.com. We talked about Matthew Nyes as being a guy that could light the lamp here for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So take a look at Nyes and his props, and you can get pretty juicy numbers on Matthew Nyes. He's plus 260, the anytime goal scorer in this game. And finally tonight, I'm laying the goal and a half with the Vegas Golden Knights. I've said this time and time again. If there's one series in this first round that I could see being the shortest series, it is this Vegas Golden Knights series against the Minnesota Wild. VGK is they have Minnesota in every single facet of the game. Minnesota's overmatched here. And with all due respect to the Wild, who, yes, I get it, they are healthy now. Kirill Kaprizov is back, and that makes their offense so much better. It makes their power play so much better. But Adin Hill has the playoff experience. The Knights are a bigger, more physical team. Jack Eichel, in any other year, would be the MVP. To me, this is a Vegas Golden Knights team that is well-positioned to get back to a Stanley Cup final. This series, I sprinkled a little bit on the sweep at plus 800, but I like actually the better bet, and I've talked about this before, plus 400 on VGK to win in 5 games, the gentleman's sweep. They win the first 2 games at home. They split in Minnesota. They win here in Game 5 at T-Mobile, and they get to say goodbye. The Vegas fans get to say goodbye to Marc-Andre Fleury, and he gets the proper send-off to end his Hall of Fame career. So give me VGK tonight. Minus a goal and a half. If you don't want the minus a goal and a half, which is a good plus money grab, it's plus 136. You can bet VGK to win in regulation at minus 120. This game does not go to overtime. Believe that. So VGK minus 120. In Major League Baseball, our best bet that we gave out earlier is on the Pittsburgh Pirates. They are minus 120 home favorites against the Cleveland Guardians. Mitch Keller on the mound for the Pirates, and Logan Allen goes for the Cleveland Guardians. Pittsburgh fits a number of systems that we've been tracking for years now, one of them being teams looking to avoid a 3-game sweep, specifically home favorites looking to avoid a 3-game sweep. This year, 5-2, your home favorites looking to avoid a 3-game sweep. And also, we are fading the Guardians on getaway day. That's right. Cleveland has won the first 2 games of this series on the road, and they will travel to right after the game to go back home to begin a series with the New York Yankees tomorrow in Cleveland. I almost said at the Jake. I know it's not that. It's like Progressive Field now is what they call it there in Cleveland. It'll always be the Jake to me. But that trend is also a 5-2 trend this year, fading those teams. You're profitable both ways. So Pirates are the best bet. And finally, the home teams in Game 4 of a 4-game series. I love this. Undefeated this year. A perfect 11-0. Your teams that fit the undefeated trend today, the New York Mets, the Detroit Tigers, and the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, I can get behind the Mets over the Cardinals. I can get behind the Tigers, who are massive, north of $2 favorites against the Royals. But the Tampa Bay Rays, I don't consider them to be a true home team here because it's at Steinbrenner Field, the Yankees spring training facility, where they're comfortable, where their fans will be there. Maybe you can go Rays plus a 1.5 if you just want to play the trend blindly. But it's Max Fried on the mound for the Yankees, who's been a revelation for them this season. Thank goodness they got him, because with the Garrett Cole injury, they'd be lost without Max Fried. So maybe go Rays plus a 1.5. But I like backing the Mets and the Tigers as a part of this perfect 11-0 trend. Stay tuned. Coming up next here on VSiN, it's Ready, Set, Bet, and then stick around. Live Bet Sunday is going to take you through all the playoff games this afternoon in both the NBA and NHL, and Joe Serralo has you with Cashing Out tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Happy Easter. Good luck with your bets. Let's cash these system plays and trends. And first off, the first game, under in the Grizzlies-Thunder game, and most notably, the under for the Grizzlies team total. I'm Scott Seidenberg, always on Twitter at Scott's On Air. This is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.